Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So, Derek and I have a fun one for you today. That is because, again, on the channel, I am talking about the best arcade racing game ever made, in my opinion, one of the best arcade games ever made of any genre. That is because OutRun 2, the original version, as well as SP or Special Tours, is now working in Teknoparrot via Xbox emulation. And for the longest time, we did have one version of the Chihiro OutRun 2 running, and that would actually be the beta. That's because for the longest time, there has been a beta of OutRun 2 out there with different features, different views, and even different music that we could emulate or even play in part on an original modded Xbox. But for the longest time, both the original OutRun 2, the Chihiro version, as well as the actual Special Tours was just something you couldn't emulate at home. You would have to have very expensive arcade hardware, a cabinet, or something you wired up in your home with original controls. And even though that's something I would definitely do, for the most part, nobody else out there would want to do that. And now, as of like a day ago or so, Teknoparrot now runs all three versions of OutRun 2, the Chihiro arcade version, basically like 95% flawlessly. And even though we have OutRun 2 ports all across different consoles and even SP SDX on the Sega Lindbergh hardware, this is where OutRun 2 got its start, and there are subtle differences between the Chihiro version and the Xbox version or any of the ports. So honestly, having more versions of OutRun 2 to play is always going to be the best thing possible. And right now, this is honestly, in real life moment, the only way I can currently drive. That is because my wife had to fly back to Vermont on Wednesday for a family emergency, and when I went out to use our car, the engine malfunction light came on, and would you believe it's still at the BMW dealer because a rat crawled up and actually ate some of the wiring harness for the engine knock sensor. I went to pick it up fully repaired last night, got about 50 feet from the BMW dealer, and it broke all over again. So I've been having some very interesting conversations with the dealer about how to actually fix a car. Honestly, I even asked if I could just go underneath it with my soldering iron and some heat shrink tube and repair the damn thing myself, because they seem to be completely inept at switching out a wiring harness. I know that has nothing to do with the video, but right now, this is the only way I can actually pilot a vehicle, so I'm just going to have to take it. So going through right now, we are on the original version of OutRun 2 Special Tours, and I am not enhancing the graphics here whatsoever. Now I'm going to show you the beta as well as the original OutRun 2, and one of the members of my Discord, SpaceRock12, actually sent me that footage to help me out because it's been one hell of a week in very many ways. So big thanks to him. The link to his YouTube channel is down below. Go give him a bunch of subs and say VGE sent me in the comments, because he's been incredibly helpful, and right now I am basically pushed in every single direction time-wise, but I will always find time to talk about OutRun 2, because if you watch me and the channel, you know full well this is absolutely top 5, one of my favorite games of all time. And I will say the emulation here in Teknoparrot via the emulator that they're using is getting very close to flawless. Every once in a while, when you do bump the wall, and if you run a clean race, you won't notice this, you might notice a little bit of hitching in the frame rate, and every once in a while some of the cars can have some exploding polygons coming out of the side of them. But considering this barely even did anything a few months ago, the fact that it's gotten this far and the Teknoparrot team in conjunction with the Xbox emulation devs are improving it so much means that we're getting really close to a world where every single Xbox Chihiro game is able to be emulated on your PC. And if you're not familiar with what the Chihiro was, it's basically an Xbox motherboard in an arcade case, but it has a double complement of RAM, and it actually is a very early design Xbox that does have some other differences, not fundamentally in the power department, but in the design department compared to an original Xbox console. And after Sega stopped making arcade hardware after Naomi 2, they went to stuff like this, and honestly, the Xbox platform has a perfect visual imagery for what OutRun 2 needs to be. That's why I'm showing it to you in the original resolution, and in the next captures we're going to be enhancing the actual resolution of the game. But I love emulation updates like this, especially on the arcade side of things, and getting something like 2 new versions of OutRun 2 running that we didn't have before, even if there's 100 ways to play the game, is still absolutely a video game preservation win, and why I say retro gaming is making a comeback. Emulating retro games is just so much fun, especially when they're this good. But we're going to do the first of 2 soundtrack samples, so listen, but come back because I still have 2 different versions of OutRun 2 to show you in Teknoparrot. Just straight up iconic music, but now let's move into the original Outrun 2, and then from there we're going to be moving into the beta version of the game in the back third of this video, and this is the footage in Space Rock 12, and you'll see here they do have the exploding polygon issue. Now that's not something I faced on Outrun 2 Special Tours, and it's one of those things that'll definitely get fixed up as time goes on, because there's so many different GPUs and so many different drivers out there that have to be accommodated in emulation, and if you do see this, if you go into first person view or cockpit view and come back out, sometimes it can actually fix that. Obviously, that bloom there a little bit too spicy compared to what Outrun would normally do. So it's one of those things. You can play these games from start to finish. They run near to flawlessly. They look incredible. But of course, this is still in active development emulation. But honestly, the Teknoparrot team is killing it in 2026, bringing us these Chihiro games, because it's not just Outrun 2 or Special Tours or even the beta. It's stuff like Virtual Cop 3, exclusives that never actually came home. And honestly, the fact that there's a Virtual Cop game out there that didn't get a home console port in and of itself is absolutely wild. And this stuff is not part of Teknoparrot's subscription service either. You can just go ahead, update Teknoparrot, and start playing these games. Obviously, you're going to have to find all the associated files to be able to play them, but it isn't going to cost you any sort of subscription dollars to be able to do so. And I just can't stress enough, these versions of Outrun 2 are absolutely special, and I still remember the first time I saw a cabinet in an arcade. I absolutely loved Outrun. Outrunners was amazing as well, and I didn't even know Sega was actually making another Outrun game. You'll see here again, sometimes that vibrancy is absolutely a little bit of a mess, but otherwise, and again, that will get patched up soon if it already isn't by the time you watch this video, because of course I do make these ahead of time. This is just some really spectacular stuff, and it's only going to get better because there's so many fun arcade platforms out there based on home consoles, and a lot of them still don't emulate. And soon, as long as I actually get it set up correctly, because it's been a chore, you're going to be seeing some PlayStation 2 arcade emulation forks of PCSX2 as well from some developers, so definitely get excited about other things in arcade emulation coming soon. And again, that's why I keep saying 2026 is absolutely the year of retro gaming, and it really is having a comeback and a resurgence and even a golden era. We're just getting so many things, decomps, recomps, PC ports, new emulators, and the like. Now of course, again, that sun there definitely way too vibrant, but that really is the only issue with this game's performance outside of the few exploding polygons from the car, and that probably just means that some of the calls to the GPU, that's kind of translations from what hardware would have been on a Chihiro board versus been on your current computer, they still need to get cleaned up a little bit, but that's kind of part and parcel how these developments actually take place. And it really is fun to kind of see how the sausage gets made, for lack of a better term, because it's really interesting. Across two different games that are basically the same game on the same emulator, you get two different results in the overall visual output. But let's go into the second soundtrack sample here. This one might not sound as familiar as what you just heard, but hopefully it gets through the actual checks, because you never be quite sure on some of the Sega arcade racing music it will hit. So go ahead and listen, at least I hope, and I'll be right back with the beta. Super fun music, and now we moved over to the beta build of Outrun 2. Now, is there any reason to play the beta over the release version of the game? If you want to see some of the subtle differences, the subtle camera angles, and everything else that did change, of course there is a big reason to do that, but if you just want to play a really good version, the original Outrun 2, then you can just basically run the original version of Outrun 2. The nice thing is Teknoparrot and Xbox Emulation here are giving you options. You have the original game, you have the beta, as well as special tours, and even though if I was going to play something like Outrun 2, I would still go to SP SDX on Sega Lindbergh, which also works in Teknoparrot. Having all of these different diverse options isn't just a big deal for video game preservation in the history of Sega, it's a big deal for emulation in general, and this is the type of stuff I absolutely love talking about on the channel, because I just have so much fun talking about Outrun 2. It really is one of my favorite games of all time, and for the longest time, if you wanted to play the Chihiro version of the game, you just had to have real hardware, and even I didn't buy it because of course there's different ways to to play Outrun 2, most of my arcade collection is preserving things that don't actually have emulation whatsoever. I kind of focus on those really fun 3D boards from back in the day that the only way you can play is owning original hardware, and emulation doesn't exist and the games never got ported home. But this to me, absolutely 10 out of 10 exciting, and when it gets a few more updates, I feel like you're going to have perfect Outrun 2 emulation to be able to play it whenever you want. But short of that, we're going to ride off into the way too bright sunset, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.